Welcome to Better Said Than Written, the podcast that shares inspirational excerpts from books, essays, poems, and quotes that, when read aloud, just sounds better said than written. I'm your host, Tamika Cody. This episode is all about new beginnings. You know, that first step on the journey toward a better future? I like to start with a quote. Well, it's actually a Chinese proverb some of you might already recognize. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. It's such a simple idea, right? Yet it is so profound. When we think about a journey of 1,000 miles, it could feel very overwhelming. Maybe that's where you are right now. And I'll be honest with you, it's where I am on my career journey. For years, I worked toward becoming a successful journalist. In the very beginning of my career, I started off in local television news as a reporter in Beaufort, South Carolina. Shout out to SCETV WJWJ. I then transitioned to financial journalism, where I learned all about mergers, acquisitions, private equity, IPOs, and accounting. And after about 10 or 15 years or so of interviewing Wall Street analysts, investment bankers, deal makers, and heads of accounting firms, I decided to venture back into local television news. Why? Because I had a couple of more on-air career goals I wanted to attain. I was on a roll. But then the pandemic threw a wrench in my career plans, and I went from being in front of the camera to behind the scenes. Now, I thought that the move was going to be temporary, but the path to get back on track seemed impossibly long and too hard to walk. Depending on where you are in your journey, whether it's career or everyday life, you might have said or currently saying to yourself, why even bother? I'm too far behind, too stuck, too broken. And I'll be honest with you, I've said these same exact words to myself time and time again. I had to take a step back, and this is something that I would like for you to do as well. Take a step back and really think about that Chinese proverb. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Now, it's not saying run the 1,000 miles right now. It's not even saying know the entire path before you begin. It's just saying start. Take one step. Maybe for you, that first step is admitting to yourself that you're ready for a change. Or maybe it's deciding to put pen to paper and write down your goals. Whatever it is, the important part is that you start or pick up from where you left off. In my case, I'm picking up from where I left off before the pandemic changed the course of my career journey. Let me share a story with you. It's probably one that you've heard before. It's about a woman. We'll call her Olivia. She spent 20 years working in a job that didn't bring her joy. Every morning, she woke up dreading the day ahead, but she told herself, this is just life. This is what I have got to do. Then one day, there was a shift. Olivia saw a child in her suburban neighborhood who was teaching themselves how to ride a bike. The child kept falling over and over again, but every time the child got back up, determined to try again. Olivia thought to herself within that moment, what if I gave myself permission to fall? What if I took a risk and just started? So that night, Olivia pulled out her journal, picked up her pen, and wrote down one thing she wanted to change about her life. The next day, she took her first step. She researched courses in a field that she had always been curious about, but never pursued because, life. So years later, guess what? She's finally doing work that's meaningful to her. And it's all because she wrote down a goal and actually took that first step. So here's the thing. Olivia didn't have everything figured out. She didn't know where that first step would lead, but she was willing to start. So I'm going to ask you this question. What's holding you back? What's holding you back from taking your first step? Uncertainty? Not enough time? Not enough money? You don't have the courage? Or maybe it's that voice in your head telling you you're not ready or you're not enough. I'll tell you what's been holding me back from taking not the first step, but the second and third steps. Fear. Afraid of what exactly? Failing and rejection. Let me tell you, fear has kept me stuck in the intersection of my career journey for a very long time. Now, my therapist, she helped me to understand that fear is an obstacle that can be moved. She explained fear will always be there, and I just need to push past it. If I fail at pursuing my goals, then I need to dust myself off and try again, or try something different. Okay, confession time. I was rejected from one of my dream jobs that was on my vision board. Yes, I used to keep a vision board every year for like the last, 15 years. And on that vision board was one of my dream jobs. I say one of my dream jobs because, it's a job, right? Anything can happen. The company could go bankrupt. Things may not work out. A bigger and better opportunity would come through. And so when people will ask, oh, how's your dream job? I was like, oh, that's just one of my dream jobs. And they were just like amazed by that. Anyway, I was rejected from one of my dream jobs that was on my vision board. And my therapist was my saving grace during that entire ordeal. She explained to me that I needed to look at that rejection as a redirection. That painful rejection is redirecting me to someplace better. Now, when she first said it, I was like, I don't see it, but I guess I'm just going to have to trust the process. Because you see, after that major rejection, it took me about 6 months to get back on my journey. What did I do in those 6 months? I took a break. So yes, for 6 months, I rested, I reflected, and I worked at restoring my confidence. You see, I had to shift my mindset before I could get back on the road of my career journey. The break was good. I had some money saved up, and things were just in the right place at the right time. Bills paid off. I didn't have anything to worry about except for my rent and, my little expenses. And I said, okay, don't overspend. You can't go out for dinner anymore. You can't be going out with girls or what have you. Just rest, reflect, and restore your confidence. It took discipline. The break, it was great. I really needed it because I was chasing my goals while in survival mode for more than 20 years. That's another story that I will add to my list of topics that I would love to discuss on Better Said Than Written. Anyway, moving right along. What I learned during my downtime is that I don't have to be ready to get moving. I just have to be willing. Willingness is enough. So right now, wherever you are, whether you're driving, sitting on your couch, or out for a walk, think about one area in your life where you want a brand new start. Now, think about one small action you can take right now to move closer to that new beginning. Maybe it's a phone call to a mentor, an email to a recruiter, or writing down your goals in your journal. Here's the thing. The first step, it doesn't have to be big. It just has to happen. Now, when I launched this podcast years ago, it's been over like 10 years, I did it with the sole intention of teaching myself how to produce an episode. I didn't have all the answers or the equipment, and I wasn't sure if anyone would listen. Now, because of contractual obligations from my on-air journalism gigs, Better Said Than Written was placed on the back burner for like at least the last 5-6 years. But I knew eventually I would find a way to revive the show. I just didn't know how or when. And after getting the boot from my dream job, I kept coming back to the idea: a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Now, for me, that step was sitting down, pulling out my mic, hitting record, and sharing my voice with you. From the very beginning, the first step was easy, because for me, the first step was going to college, getting my degree, walking into that newsroom or approaching that news reporter and saying, hey, I would love an internship at WJWJ. Those were the first steps for me. But after years, it's like I was still on that first step. After losing my dream job, I found myself that I was on my second step. And I was like, uh-oh, I'm having problems with moving forward on that second step. Why? Because of fear. But now that I've pushed through that 4-letter word, I'm taking the third step, and hopefully I'll pick up speed and make it to the finish line where my ultimate goal resides. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. The road ahead of me, it looks daunting. But one thing I know for sure is that I don't have to walk it all at once. I just need to focus on today, this very moment. Baby steps, courageous steps, just as long as I'm going forward. That's enough. And that's my message to you today. Focus on today, this very moment, baby steps, courageous steps, just as long as you are going forward. That is enough. So I'll leave you with this one final thought. Every big change, every monumental shift starts with a single tiny action. Thank you so much for hitting the play button on this episode of Better Said Than Written. Do me a favor, leave a note in the comment section letting us know what inspired you to take the first step, the second, or the third step. You never know, it might help someone who's scrolling through and instead of listening, they're like, oh, that comment that's spot on. That person gets me. So it'll be great if you just leave a little note. All right, until next time, I'm Tamika Cody, reminding you the path will reveal itself as you start to walk forward. You just have to trust the process and enjoy the journey.